the podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Happy Monday. Welcome into Tech Talk. You got us on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. We're live from the First United Bank studio. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline. That number is 806-771-0973. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, reactions to the weekend, all of that, welcome there. Take us anywhere with the mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Should be around then anyways. Friendship Basketball had a postponed playoff game. It was supposed to be at 4:30 today. Some bus troubles on the other side. It sounds like everybody's okay, but that is never, ever fun to deal with. And that also messing with the time in a playoff game. That is that's another cog in the wheel right there. So we will get that at 6 o'clock tonight here on Double T 97.3. The high school fan zone will be over on 100.7 The Score. That is a 6 o'clock start time tonight. LISD schools, Coronado at 6, Estacado at 6:20, Lubbock High 6:40, Monterey at 7 o'clock with Garrett Luft. And Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson will be live via Zoom momentarily. Ben Poorman behind the glass taking care of us. Lots to dive into today, as we have a 2-1 opening record for Red Raider baseball after their stint in the Shriners Childrens College Showdown. But if you're going, oh man, I want to watch more baseball for the Red Raiders in Arlington, never fear. They'll stay there for the next two games tomorrow night against UTA and then Oregon State on Wednesday. And now, live from the First United Bank Zoom room, Dr. Mike Gustafson. What's up, buddy?
Not much. How are you, big boy?
I'm doing great. How's your time in Arlington treated you?
It's good. Shoot, it's two fun days at the ballpark, or 3 fun days at the ballpark, and we're off and running. Today's kind of a long day just because the guys got up and went over to the ballpark back to Globe Life and had a good practice and good workout, so they got up and moved around. But the rest of us are, kind of my excitement was going over there to the mall and walking around.
Well, I was going to say this is kind of a road trip rarity, because you typically don't get especially for you and for the team, like, hey, we're here on the road, but we get an off day in between because you're going game, let's go back.
Right, absolutely.
So for you, you've been to the mall. Are you going to live it up tonight?
No. There'll be no living it up. Just some dinner and find something on the TV or whatever. I had a couple beers after the game on Saturday, but because my kids were down here, so that was good. I mean, we kind of got a little post-game hang at Texas Live there, so that was good. I had a buddy, one of my buddies that lives in DFW, came over, had dinner with us, and so, yeah, it was good. Just get to see some folks. Man, there was a ton of letter winners here for those games, and Double T Varsity Club and Red Raider Club and Alumni Association all had stuff going on, and there was a bunch of former baseball players in the house and down there in that suite. I didn't see them all, but I knew they were there. So that's always good to see. And that's the same kind of core group that was running around at that baseball letter winners reunion back in November in conjunction with the UCF football game. Of course, that was in Lubbock and built around the everybody getting to see the new facility for the first time, the new team facility out in the left field corner. But yeah, just good vibes all the way around.
So you're starting off season 2-1. You go down against Tennessee first game, and then get some late offense against Nebraska, and then put up a bunch of much-needed runs against Oregon that turned out to be a fairly, let's say, label it back and forth game for them as well. We'll break down all of that action, but just talking about the atmosphere. This is something it feels like to me, Gus. Now I just here in Lubbock watching on TV, Flow Sports, and so I wasn't there to truly experience this. It seems like that's gotten better and better fan participation every year. And at least what I could tell, it seemed like you had a pretty good buzz there in the stadium.
Yeah, I think so. That's a good way to say it. And, having the Sunday afternoon game probably helps because that's usually the least of the three games, just in terms of, the flow of people's lives and stuff. But, yeah, the place was hopping on Saturday for sure.
Was it
the
bustling?
Red Raider fans? Yeah, it was bustling. There you go. It was bussin'. It was hopping pretty good there, and that's what you'd expect because a lot of folks came down there early. And again, that was the day for most of the festivities because a lot of there was a reception over at Texas Live and kind of a game watching thing for basketball at 11, and then our game was at 3, I think. And so, everybody was in there eating lunch and having some beers and watching the basketball game, and then rolled into the ballpark. And so I would assume it was a pretty fun day for, everyone. If I lived down here, I'd be looking forward to that. It was a fun hang. Yeah. And nice crowds all the way around. And like you said, it probably peaked on Saturday, maybe just short of that on Friday night. And then yesterday's maybe the least of the three, but still pretty good. Still pretty good crowd.
That Texas Live crowd, unfortunately, ended up watching a loss against Iowa State. You, boy, dug yourself into some kind of hole. And I guess if you're being honest, it could have been worse than 14 at the half, but you're down 14 at the half in someone else's house, and that house happens to be Hilton Coliseum in Iowa State. Is very, very good there. Turns you over a bunch in the first half, and then you have a great showing in the second half. I give all the props in the world to Coach McCaslin and the team for not just rolling over like they absolutely could have, but at the same time, you're not really hunting for moral victories right now.
No.
But you knew going into that this was going to be a tough one, and you add in Warren Washington, did not play, and thought that was going to be the case. Ultimately, it was still kind of stuff up in the air with him of what you're going to see, and hoping for a quick but also proper return. But man, that was Iowa State brutality on display in the first half.
I mean, Clint, it's an anomaly. You just don't see teams, not score a point off of a turnover. And this year's men's team is not a big turnover team. And Iowa, we knew going in, Iowa's going to create havoc and turnovers lead to points the way they play, and they got to dictate the game on their terms the whole way through. But when you see that stat sheet and it's points from turnovers, Iowa State 28, Texas Tech 0, that just doesn't happen. There's at least going to be 4 points in there, or 6 points in there, or something. But I'm like you, dude. I mean, they're down 21 at one point. We were down 21 about halfway through the second half, and just kept competing and kept grinding. And I appreciate, and I think what Coach McCaslin's doing, especially as a new coach here, he's setting a standard. He's setting a standard for how we're going to compete every day. And just think about the 2 games we saw last week. Kansas got down big, and that became a boat race. And we don't say that about Kansas very often, but they were sort of in our shoes, in terms of one of their really good players on the road, got down big and then shut it down. Coach got teed up and got tossed in the whole deal. And we were down 21 at one point and closed it down to 8 and missed the 3 to close it to 5.
More Tech Talk next. We'll be right back here on Double T 97.3.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
And the word that I just got, if you are looking for tonight's friendship playoff game for boys basketball, it will be a 6:30 start time on Double T 97.3. So we'll go up to 6 o'clock here for Tech Talk, and then 30 minutes later they'll get going over in Fort Stockton. and hopefully they have everything kind of nailed down on a path. I know just having that stuff up in the air will make you pull your hair out. 6 o'clock over on 100.7 The Score. It is the high school fan zone with Garrett Luft. LISD schools on deck tonight. Coronado at 6, Estacado 6:20, Lubbock High 6:40, and Monterey 7 o'clock. We'll get Ben's play of the day here in just a moment, but did want to get this string of comments here in the Yates Flooring Center chat line all in the same vein, so I guess we'll take a crack at it. The women's basketball program looks like a dumpster fire. Gerlich needs to go. She's lost this team 29 turnovers, is ridiculous. And then we also got this on the chat line from Red Raider 2 Guns. Chuck says no, but Coach Gerlich hot seat? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Well, I hope not, but I hope not, but it's definitely not good right now.
I don't think there will be one in this off season. But if you're being just brutally honest, I know you didn't have all the players available that you thought you would as your difference makers and stuff like that. You know, if you're seeing, I mean, to me, regression again from what it looked like maybe you were headed direction wise. I just don't see how there's not going to be a hot seat. Again, I don't think it'll be after this year, but next year, if you're not seeing steps taken forward, it's just the way that the business goes and the way that the business is. If you're not seeing results at a certain time, you're eventually going to get to the hot seat. And I'm not trying to bash anything over there. I don't see how it won't get there if you're not seeing progression.
Yeah, and I mean, there's probably some acknowledgement that she lost two key players. You know, two really anticipated, needed players that were going to be either starters or probably certainly rotation players. It's really fallen apart here in the last 2 weeks. It's like they were holding it together pretty good, and it's an amazing. They'll have stretches of sloppiness that's just amazing. Like the turnovers and stuff. Just like because I remember the game they lost, the alumni game, or not the alumni game, but the reunion game weekend 2 Saturdays ago. With UCF and Lubbock, again, one of those protect home floor kind of games. And, just they were throwing it to the other team a bunch in the first quarter. And they mounted a gutsy comeback and pulled that to within 5 or something late, but, had dug themselves such a monster hole. But I don't even like thinking about that. I know that they're not getting results. Hey, there's 3 little quick news items that may be a little off the grid for not entirely off the grid for what we talk about, but certainly outside of Texas Tech. And we could touch on these. And I just noticed this one just popped up from Adam Schefter, but Iowa State's offensive coordinator Nate Shielhays. I don't know, young guy, like in his early 30s. He's the Iowa State offensive coordinator. He is headed to the LA Rams as their pass game coordinator. So Iowa State looking for a new offensive leader. That was one. Kirby's former deputy athletic director, Joe Parker, has been the AD at Colorado State this morning at least. And I don't know if this has been formalized in the last few hours, but kind of right before lunch, the word was that he was out at Colorado State, which I hated to see that. I certainly didn't work with Joe Parker, wasn't close to him, and I know a lot of people are. He's a regular guest on Thetford and Ashby. It seems like every year or so they'll have him on, and friends with a lot of folks there in Lubbock. But because him and his wife, good people. But he's been up there at Fort Collins for a while, but apparently been let go. So. Again, we'll have to follow that story. And then Desiree Reed Francois has been the athletic director at Missouri. She's headed to Arizona.
Yeah,
now we've talked about that just because the Arizona athletic department, having big financial stuff and financial problems and really couldn't get involved in extending their head football coach, and it probably cost them because Alabama hired the Washington coach, and then the Arizona coach went to Washington, and fans were unhappy, and I'm sure administration or whatever. Well, Desiree Reed Francois was she's a graduate of the University of Arizona Law School, like late 90s graduate, and she's kind of I'll say this: if there's a Texas Tech connection to her background, she was the athletic director prior to her stint at Missouri. She was at UNLV. She was the athletic director at UNLV when they hired Chris Beard for about 4 days, and then Tech came and hired him away from them. So that was under her watch. So she was probably unhappy with the Red Raiders back then. And I'm sure she's had some, committee appointments and stuff because I think she's viewed as an up-and-comer in the administration. But, yeah, she's headed to Arizona, which is her alma mater, to try to clean up their financial situation.
And you know what that shows us, even with the alma mater side, is going to a financial mess is still better than being at Missouri. All right.
Well, it's funny because their own fan base, because they're obviously got some good things going right now, especially running at football and all that stuff. And their fans are going bonkers this morning. Like, yes, of course, we've won a few games and got some things going. So Missouri's got a Missouri. And that's just me reading the St. Louis media stuff as I'm looking for my baseball team and my football team, but I was entertained by all
that. Ben, let's get in a play of the day real quick, shall we?
1-1 pitch now to the Red Raiders senior right fielder. Swings and skies it to left. Turning and running is the left fielder. Still going back. He is not going to get there. That ball is out of here. A 3-run shot for the Red Raiders. Austin Green. It is 6-0 Texas Tech here in the second inning. Another 1-2 offering coming up. 7-6 Red Raiders. Swung on. Hit well by Lopez to right field. This time Hurd's not going to get it. That ball is out of here. Tracer Lopez turns on a breaking ball and mashes it into the right field seats. There's a little momentum for the good guys. Tech now leads it 8-6.
So this double feature, as you heard, came from yesterday in the matchup against Oregon. The first one was Austin Green's 3-run home run to take the Red Raiders up to 6-0, and the second one was Tracer Lopez's home run to take them up 8-6.
Yeah, and one, it's the ballpark there. You don't see a lot of long balls hit in this event when you're going to the Rangers' house, really by anybody. And it felt like up to that point, even for you, Gus, you can tell me if I'm wrong. It didn't really felt like you had any hits that were even threatening. And then you had those two, especially Austin Green, who just tattooed his. And so it felt good to rip off that Band-Aid and break the ice on the old long ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the ball didn't fly much this weekend. And, a lot of hitters trying to find their way. And that's all around the tournament for sure. Mm-hmm.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. More Tech Talk when we come back.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
Welcome back to Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3 and Double T 97.3.com. Thank you for joining us, Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Ben Porman behind the glass, taking care of us. Hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions. Questions like this from Bullfighter, which I think this is a very good point. If I'm remembering correctly, Gus said if Tech went 2-1 this weekend, he'd be riding the mechanical bull. He's not going to back down, is he?
100% backing down, yeah. I didn't think that was ever finalized. That was never finalized. So
you got to remember.
I did think about him because I was in there. In fact, on Saturday night, post game, I talked about one of my friends coming over, in DFW and sitting with my kids and at Texas Live, and we're watching. Actually, we were watching the dunk contest. Would it go Mac McClung? And we can talk about that too if you want. But and they were cutting in, during the breaks and cutting in and showing some of those people falling off the bull. And I was thinking, I wonder where Bullfighter is. I didn't know if he was in the house or, I know he was there and watching ball games and stuff, but I didn't know if he was hopping on that bull or whatever else. But yeah, I was wanting to know, hoping he was in there. I mean, because most people get up on that thing. I've never seen it before until the other night. That thing would go, boom. He didn't even like hit the full throttle. It was just like, just get the little thing. And I don't know if that's real saddle. I don't know if they grease it up and make it slick or whatever. And I'm sure most of those people are about 3 beers in too. So,
I don't think much grease is needed.
No, I think most of them.
Off of
no, that. Exactly. There's no technique, which I'd be me. I'd just be holding on for dear life. And
I've been on a mechanical bull a time or two back in the day, and the ones that I was on, that you could do it with levels. So like as a kid,
right,
they weren't going to launch you 100 yards as you like get tossed into the parking lot or something like that. But the ones that I love, so if it is that way, which I would assume you would have some control, and it's not just 0 to 100 every time, but the ones that would walk up, right, and you could hear them like, for the Dodge City Rodeo, which is the main one that I've done this, and you could hear them, okay, well, what level do you want it? And like, what's the toughest one you got? And those are 0.5 seconds, guys.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, okay, you want to watch, but you got to pay attention because it's going to go fast, so...
And I would assume there's real bull riders can utilize that device to actually, like a mechanical bull, to actually train and practice and all that stuff. I would assume, but yeah, and it's obviously a source of entertainment at bars and stuff like that. And that's, most of those people would fall off the thing, and it took them 5 minutes to get up and walk out of there. And I thought, yeah, there you go. Of course, part of it is that the whole room is padded, and so it's probably hard to walk around in there. But yeah, it's no shot.
You were talking about the dunk contest and Mac McClung, back-to-back champ, Mac champion. Let me get it right. This on the chat line. Did y'all see the LED court at the NBA All-Star game? If y'all did, what did you think of it? So,
well, it was interesting. I was actually sitting with my buddy that was here, was a photographer, and he was like, oh my, and he shot a lot of sports stuff, shot the World Series, shoots a lot of Cowboy home games. So, I mean, he shoots a lot of, high level stuff and high level venues. And he was like, I guarantee you, he looked up there at that big screen, and he goes, I guarantee you I can get in my, national sports photographers Facebook group type deal. And he said, and they're all going to be griping about that floor because the floor is like making their lives brutal. And then I talked this morning to Brandon Brieger here with Texas Tech baseball doing his great work. And I said, hey, did you see that? I said, my buddy was talking about that. And he said that floor would be driving him crazy. He was like, oh my God, and then just like LED lighting has improved sports for so much, but it's made it really tough on photographers because it creates a different kind of a backlit deal. And, it's really changed the lighting dynamic, for some of these photographers, but yeah, the pink floors and then all the colors. But it was kind of interesting viewing, especially on a dunk contest type thing. It was just adding to the entertainment level. I will say this: the last 2 nights. Last night we were just eating dinner post game at a place that had TVs in it, and the reaction on Saturday night to all that was going on with the dunk and the 3-point contest, and then Anescu and Curry's 3-point deal and all of that reaction was better Saturday night than the All-Star game was last night. Nobody was really reacting to the game last night, and that may be reflective of Saturday versus Sunday. I don't know, but that the game just seemed anticlimactic and kind of a mess relative to what they do on Friday night,
which was crazy because you saw so much good offense in that All-Star game, Gus. Right?
Oh my God! Stop! That looked like the best players in the world running around at the rec center.
It looked like a half-speed practice.
Oh my gosh! And no defense. I mean, because we were sitting there and Jamie goes, "Man, it's 53-47." And I saw the score and didn't even think of it. And he goes, "That's the end of the first quarter." And I go, man, that's on a 210 to 190 pace, or just ha 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 ha. And then the final score is 201 to 180 something. Or like, you got to be kidding me, man.
I I really think, because I was reading stuff like the NBA hoping for it to be more well, the NBA can hope that it's going to be more competitive all that it wants, but if the players aren't going to be competitive, then the game is not going to be competitive. And that is headed, to me, towards the way of the NFL Pro Bowl. And look, it's not a knock, because at this point the players have told you. And I think on one hand you can be mad at the players, because you have the opportunity for what? You have the actual most talented basketball players on the planet all together on the court for one night a year. And why are you tuning into that? Because you want to see what they can do whenever they're actually going 100%, but you're never going to see that. It's closer to 25%. It is like when you see the All-Star game for people who really don't like the NBA, that's the example that they're going to go back to. And are the regular season games that bad? No, not even close. But that's the example. So why play the game? Because what's worse for the players? The first time to be mad at them and go, oh, well, they're not being competitive, or the 8th game in a row, like mark it since Kobe retired, that there hasn't been a competitive bone in an All-Star game for the NBA. Is it worse, like, to get on the players or to the NBA to keep putting this out and go, well, we hope it'll be more competitive? But to answer the question, because the LED stuff I thought was really cool for Saturday night. I'm totally down. Speaking of the competitive portion, if they want to keep doing more things like the Ionescu and Curry challenge, because that was awesome.
Me too.
Jaylen Brown in the dunk contest was a joke, but good for Mac McClung for beating him, because I was just like, hey, we need name recognition. And his was pretty lame. McClung's was awesome. But yeah, Saturday, and I think that most people feel this way going into it now at this point anyways. Saturday, leagues better than the actual All-Star game.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's it's really hard for them to create enough incentive for those dudes to really want to play and win in that All-Star game.
Right.
And with the winning is going to come the defense. And so, they're not financially incentivized.
Someone says the LED court was lit, which is really well done.
Yeah. Yes, indeed.
It is Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3. When we come back, we're going to find out what's going on. Keep it right here on Double T 97.3.
The podcast put together with Red Raider fans in mind. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
It's Tech Talk here on Double T 97.3, Double T97.3.com. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Ben Porman. Friendship playoff basketball tonight, 6:30 here on Double T 97.3. 6 o'clock, 100.7 the score. It is the high school fan zone with Garrett Luft. Coaches from Coronado, Estacado, Lubbock High, and Monterey tonight. We'll join him here in the First United Bank studio that we are coming out of live right now. We are a fan of terms here. We learn stuff all the time. I have something maybe to help us out. Let's find out what's going on. We're a fan of words and sentences here on Tech Talk. You should be too. All right, Gus. We have gone over a time or two bussin'.
Yeah.
Dictionary.com just added 327 new words and terms. This is including a list of words that, quote, Gen Z likes to use. And someone put together a highlight of their favorite words that are now a part of dictionary.com and are officially official.
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to go through these, and I'm going to see if you will add them to your verbiage. Perhaps on a Red Raider baseball call tomorrow when the Red Raiders take on UTA. All right, the lowest one on this list is the Shacket, which is a mashup of a shirt and a jacket. Makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've heard the phrase jersey, like the little, you could get a Patrick Mahomes kind of a T-shirt deal with Mahomes 15 on the back or whatever, and and that I've heard that phrase jersey But yeah, I've never heard of it. I don't know that I've seen it.
Sure, it's not a Shaq-sized jacket.
Well, I was gonna say a Shacket sounds like, hey, what would Shaq do in this situation?
Right.
Hey, man.
And by the way, speaking of McClung,
Yeah,
that was the deal closer for him.
way better than Jaylen Brown's dunking over someone who was sitting, which again was just totally lame. Not Mac McClung though; he was awesome. Back to back, Mac to Mac. All right, how about range anxiety? The definition is the fear that an electric vehicle's battery will run out of power before you get to where you're going.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Girl dinner, which is an often attractively presented collection of snacks that involve little preparation. I've been doing this snack thing for a very long time. 31 years of all of my 31 years. I've not once thought to call it this, and why would I? This doesn't seem...
I don't get it. Girl dinner? Like,
Girl,
spell it. G.
It's the word girl and the word dinner together. Like, apparently it's just what they use
Okay. I got it.
for a dinner.
Got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm out on that one. Cheat code is official, which is like a hack.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I like that. How about,
Know that. Yeah.
how about,
That's not new.
you've used this one a bunch, Gus. Barbie core, which is, of course, due to the Barbie craze from the movie that's come out this year.
Okay. And what is it? What's it pertain to?
It is to represent the styling of pink outfits, accessories, and decor that celebrates Barbie. Barbie core.
Oh, okay, like decor, but it's Barbie core. Got it. Okay.
So the word Barbie and the word core mushed
Okay,
together.
that'll work.
Here you go, Gus. Number 4, Bussin. Officially official. I can't believe it hasn't been already. It feels like that one's been around.
What's their definition of it? How do they list it? Do they tether it to the food and drink thing?
Great. No, they don't. Great, wonderful, or amazing. The opposite of mid. Which, if you're wondering what number 3 is, then it's the opposite of bussin'. It's mid.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've used both.
Kind of meh.
I've used both of these.
Meh. Mid.
Mediocre. Yeah. Unimpressive. Yeah. Disappointing. Number 2, the ick, which is a sudden feeling of disgust or dislike. So you feel the ick about 3 o'clock every day walking into the first
exactly. Walking into the studio. Yeah.
Oh, great, you're here again.
Stop.
Oh, great, my Zoom actually worked. Ugh, the ick. And number 1 that has been added, bed rotting, the practice of spending many hours in bed during the day, often with snacks or an electronic device, as a voluntary retreat from activity or stress.
Well, yeah, that's a great phrase, and and Tim talked about that last. I'm trying to think of when it was. He was talking about this day, or he was talking about this past Friday, and probably tomorrow. But he was talking about just. He goes, and I can't remember. It was one of the media availabilities or something. He said, you get a bunch of 20-year-olds around the hotel all day, and all they want to do is sleep. And then he was talking about how, like, he was talking about it like from when he played, and same thing for us. Mm-hmm. You sleep, have an alarm clock, sleep till whatever, and then you get all dragging. He said he would talk about, like, you kind of look up there in the 6th inning, and you're like, man, we're in a baseball game, and mm-hmm. This is him talking about as a player, just. And I've seen coaches probably do all, it's why basketball teams get up at 11 o'clock, or not get up, but like maybe go have a little shoot around or something late morning,
mm-hmm.
But it's like everybody's trying to get out of the hotel and go walk around the mall or do something, but it's to avoid bed rot. That's a great phrase, man. Especially when you're on the road.
Oh man, I can. If this was around when I was actually bed rotting more back in the day, I totally would have used it.
Oh, I know. It's a great. You don't even need to get a whole lot of definition there. You hear bed rot and think, empty packet, a bag of chips in there and iPhone charger next to the bed. That's funny.
If like the remote that you needed to turn the volume down on the TV was a little too far away, not worth it. The volume is what the volume is.
Hey, Johnny, what time did you get up today? About 2.
Oh man.
Oh, all right.
When I was in high school, like the way that our house was set up, it was 2 stories, but it was a submerged basement, which I guess is what a basement is. But that's where me and then my sister's rooms were. And mine, it sounds like I was like just a basement troll, which probably was close to it in high school. Mine was the only room that didn't have a window, and I loved it because it was sleeping in pitch black.
Sure.
So, like,
You didn't know if it was 2 in the afternoon or 2 in the morning.
oh man, yeah. I yearned for that type of sleep. I haven't had that sleep since I was in that house. Oh, beautiful. This on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Everybody love everybody except for Clint, the Texas Independence Day ruiner. El Jefe said he didn't play professional sports, but it's Roger Goodell's birthday today, 65.
Yeah.
Hey, what did you think of Manfred's, I didn't get to ask you this, announcement, essentially the quote-unquote retirement announcement in 2029? I know it just meant, hey, here's a 5-year extension, and then I'm going to retire. Just the way that it was worded was like, it's kind of hard to call it a retirement if you're having to wait out 5 years of a contract. Like, that's so much time for things to be different.
Well, yeah, and it's kind of a wording thing, because that somebody would sign a contract and say, hey, I'm here for one more go around, isn't unusual, but to refer to it as a retirement. Like Wes Kitley last summer signed a 7-year contract. He's in his late 60s, but nobody's talking about his retirement, but we could probably put a date on the end of it.
Yeah.
The podcast that finishes your workday in a very Red Raider way. This is the Tech Talk Podcast from Double T 97.3, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction.
You've got Tech Talk on Double T 97.3, doublet97.3.com. Clint Scott, Dr. Mike Gustafson, Ben Porman. As soon as we're done here, Gus is about to tear up Arlington. It'll never be the same. No baseball game tonight.
False.
So
False.
He's going to go find that mechanical bull, and then he'll wish he hadn't. I'll tell you that.
False.
We are live from the First United Bank studio. You can call us on the Visual Edge IT hotline, 806-771-0973. Get your questions in for Ask Tech Talk. That'll be at 5:45. You can also hit us up on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Thoughts, comments, questions, where you can get those questions in for Ask Tech Talk. Take us anywhere with the mobile app, brought to you by Happy State Bank. We're also streaming live on Fox 34 News Now and on YouTube. Feel free to follow us on the social medias of Facebook and Twitter.
I am watching right now, just muted in the room here on the Pac-12 live deal here, or the Pac-12 network, excuse me. UNLV beating Stanford 10-8 with 2 outs in the 9th inning, and that is there's obviously baseball, but that is a battle of common opponents. Stanford will be in Lubbock for 2 games in April, and we play UNLV on that final weekend where we go to Tempe.
So that's a perfect little mashup right there to get your eyes early look. Speaking of early look, Gus, so you go 2-1 in Arlington. Well, I guess in the college showdown, of course, you'll play in Arlington tomorrow, and then on Wednesday, same place, same park. What did you think? I'm just gonna run through some names here.
Sure.
For you. What did you think first off of the freshman Pompey getting his first real action? I know you've got to see him in some scrimmages and stuff like that, but first live fire, what did you think of him?
Yeah, he lived up to billing. Good player. The offense is real, and I think the defense will be fine. I think they called it a hit yesterday. There was a play that he didn't come up with, a backhand that was going to be, had he made it, would have been a really nice play, and he'll find his rhythm defensively. He's going to be fine there. But he had offense in all 3 games and had the kind of the lone offensive highlight on Friday, which Clint, by the way, that's what I texted you just a minute ago. But he,
okay, gotcha.
good. That's okay. And that doesn't have to be for the show, or whatever. But he's the real deal, and him putting some juice down there in the bottom of the order. And he had a triple taken away yesterday. He had a bomb to right center field that was run down, a really nice catch yesterday by their Hurd, their big right fielder for Oregon. But yeah, I mean, so he was in the middle of everything.
I thought, just first glimpse, everything that someone like me who hasn't seen him in action at all has heard. It's almost turned into this, like, not by any means to like the Micah Hudson type mystique. And of course with him, you have like more highlights and stuff running around Tech football, but just this kind of mystique around a talented freshman of get ready to watch something really special. And I thought opening weekend, he looked the part. He looked the part of what we've been told. And wasn't perfect, but
I like the way you say that, and that's it's a maybe a baseball version. Certainly not as hyped and ballyhooed and all that, but Tim talked about it in the preseason media stuff from first pitch lunch and forward about how they talked about this time last year they didn't think they were going to get Pompey to campus because he's he was a pretty good professional prospect, and that they got him to campus and he's living up to billing is a good deal.
There was some question, of course, before we found out. I think we got the news a couple days before it started. Hey, who would be starter number 3? We had an idea on night 1 and night 2, and that idea was accurate. Third start goes to Jack Washburn. What did you think of his performance yesterday?
Yeah, I love the fact that he was in the strike zone, all day. He went 4 scoreless and then gave up 3, or basically the first 3 base runners of the 5th reached. I think 2, maybe 3 hits in a row. I can't remember. It might have been one of his or he only walked 1 and didn't hit anybody, so he was in the strike zone. But I thought he was pretty good. The fastball is 88 to 90, and pregame, Coach Gardner had thought that it may tick a bit up from that. And I'm going off the stadium radar gun there, but threw a bunch of strikes with it, 6 strikeouts in the 4 innings, which is good. Was able to get strikes at the top of the strike zone with his fastball, which his best pitch, I think, is his breaker. His breaking ball is pretty good. It's sharp. It's got some, some spin. It's good. And so it's his out pitch. And so by mixing those up, fastball command, but if he throws a 90-mile-an-hour heater down the middle, he's going to get hit. But when he's able to, get the breaking ball going for a strike and then work the fastball up at the top of the zone, he's hard to hit. And he got a bunch of chase type swings. But I was pleased for him. And I even saw him. He didn't know me from Adam, really. I mean, he knows I'm around the ballpark some, but I said, hey, that feels good. I said, hey, it was good to watch you pitch today. He said it was good to be back, and what he meant was that it's been almost 2 years, for him to be on a mound in a real game. So he was, I think everybody was happy for him, and he can build from there.
What about Max Huffling, who was more fiery than I remember from watching him in a couple of games against the Red Raiders over the past few years? I was surprised by that, but some question of, hey, would he be a midweek starter? And there's nothing saying that he still can't be, at least, probably not for the next 2 days, but moving forward in your season. Yeah. But you get, I thought, more work out of the reliever role than expected against Oregon, but does some pretty good stuff for you.
Yeah, I think Huff was another one. Again, a lot of strikes yesterday, which is good. Three innings of work, 7 Ks. And no walks, didn't hit anybody. Again, that's a good low free pass day, and it needs to be, because it's a day where Oregon, which is a good offensive club, got 16 hits, but you're not handing a bunch of free passes and you're not making a bunch of errors, and so they had to hit to beat you, and they got 7 runs out of it. But Big Huff, yeah, he's a piece of work, man. I mean, like when he pitches at home and the crowd gets going behind it and all that, and we may, he'll probably throw some at some point this weekend. But he's emotion, he's grunting and a lot of moving parts with him, a lot of herky jerky falling off the mound and all that. And there was big, it was a nice crowd, big league environment yesterday, and so there was a lot of emotion from him. And it's funny because he was either giving up. I mean, he gave up some rockets. I don't mean home run balls, but just line drives. And it was either really good contact with the exception of that bunt single, or he was striking people out, and there wasn't a lot in between, but fun to watch. Yeah. And if you're a photographer, you want to have your camera on him when he gets the third out, because he's about to blow a gasket, man. He was excited.
You're talking about, speaking of feeding off the crowd and stuff like that, I am pumped to see him in like a packed home game here at Tech, to see how much of a 6'9" psycho we can get, because I'm here for it.
Absolutely.
And he did a great job for you too. So that's going to be something important to watch, is, hey, who steps up in the bullpen and all that good stuff we've talked about leading up to the season.
This has been the Tech Talk Podcast, presented by Cantex Roofing and Construction. Check out our library of Double T 97.3 podcasts at doublet97.3.com.